Hi guys, my name is Vivian Reed and welcome to my channel. Now, as I always say, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to like and say nice things. You know, we always like nice comments. Now, today I have a beautiful young lady here who's doing it. She's absolutely doing it. She has done theater, television, film, commercials, voiceover, concerts. She's done it all. Her kind of career is, she has the kind of career to which you should aspire. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Bella Muller. How you doing, girl?
Hi, I'm great. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, absolutely, because you have everything that I look for in a person to have this kind of conversation because you're out there doing it. And obviously, people would not be hiring you if you did not come with the goods. And by the way, some of the shows that she has done is Oklahoma, Hairspray, Into the Woods. Did you do Grease?
I did Greece. Yes, I
Yes.
did.
And the
I
list
also,
goes,
I just came off the national tour of An American in Paris, is what I
yes.
just finished doing.
Oh, fabulous. And tell us about that fabulous. What is it? Is it on Netflix?
So it
Come
was the
on.
national tour. And then I also just did Marvelous Mrs. Maisel,
There
which
you
was
go.
super fun.
She's
Yeah.
doing it, guys. She really is. So, all right, Bella. This isn't really about your life per se, but I do want to go back a bit.
Mhm.
When did you and your parents discover that you had something special to offer, that you were a singer? Oh, by the way, she's a dancer too. Hello. Oh, she's she's a triple threat. Anyway, tell me about the beginning, sweetheart.
Yeah, so I actually started in dance. My parents always say
Oh.
I had so much energy they didn't know what to do with me. So they were hoping to tire me out and put me in a bunch of things so I'd be exhausted at the end of the day, but it backfired on them because I loved it. So they got me in dance really early on. I was doing dance all the time, and I thought, this is it for me. I'm going to be a dancer. And so my parents decided that the kind of training that I needed to become really the great dancer I wanted to be required me being homeschooled. So that was kind of the first step we took in my career as a young kid. And I think having parents who were so open to that and who were so supportive and knew what it would take to succeed, they never shied away from telling me it would take a lot of hard work, but they were there to support me. And so they decided, yeah, you can get homeschooled and we're just going to figure this out. So that was the plan originally, was just I was going to be a dancer. And then one fateful day, a theater company was rehearsing at my dance studio, and I had never really heard of theater before. I didn't understand the concept of it. That I sang in church growing up all the time. I loved dance and I loved movies, but nobody had ever told me that I could combine all three things that I love into one thing. And it wasn't until I was watching, and it was a production of Cinderella, and they were all like dancing around, they were all singing together, and I tell you, it was just one of those like clicking in moments where I was watching it and I was like, that that's what I want to do. And so I begged my mom to please let me audition for this company. I was really young. I want to say I was 7 or maybe 8. And I think they only let in like 13 and up, but I was very persuasive. And they let me join their production of Godspell. I think I had like one line.
Oh.
It was very, very, very small, but that I started me down the path.
Okay, but you know what?
Really.
That's a start.
Yeah.
That's a start. I mean, just one line, it leads on to other things. But I want to go back and touch on something that you said about your parents. You know, I hate to admit this, but much of the time when a child is very, very talented, uh, probably with singing, uh, or even maybe in dance, they move well. Sometimes parents just don't get it because a lot of times they don't see our business as something that's viable, as something where you can make a living. So you were very fortunate, as I was very fortunate. I had parents once they discovered that I could sing. They said I was making melodious tones at 3. Of course, I don't remember that. But they, later on, I started studying at 8. They took me to this place, took me to see this woman by the name of Romaine Russell, and the rest is history. But we were very fortunate because it is not always like that. Now, it's funny, you started out as a dancer. I started out as a singer, and dance
Oh,
came later. I think I started studying dance at maybe, I don't know, maybe 20 or 21. And then I studied it for the next
wow.
25 years. And I loved it. I just absolutely fell in love. But Bella, today, you really do have to be a triple threat.
Oh,
You
if
really
not a
do.
quadruple threat. I would say
Exactly.
nowadays it's instruments.
You play piano and
Yeah,
uh,
I now play piano, guitar, mandolin, ukulele, and I'm working on banjo.
okay, let's
So
talk about that for a minute. Why these instruments? Were you always interested in instruments? How did that happen?
So piano is something I've done since I was young. I think I loved music and I loved classical music. I think growing up having that classical background, I think is what helped me be so successful now because I have that grounding in theory and I have a great understanding of where things come from musically, if that makes sense. So
Yes.
piano was the base for it. But to be honest, I noticed after graduating that a lot of things I was auditioning for were country, were blues, where you're like
Mm.
jukebox type musicals, right? So I was getting these auditions all the time, and I kept thinking, wow, if only I could play guitar, or if only I could play these instruments, I feel like I would be a lot more successful. So I just did it. I just decided that I was going to get good at it, and it's really helped, to be
But did
honest.
you study guitar? Or are you self-taught or?
I did. I had a teacher for guitar, but from there I was pretty self-taught. Mandolin was one that I picked up on a job. Uh, they already had enough people doing guitar, and they're like, "Well, it's not that different. You'll be fine." So they just kind of handed me a mandolin. They were like, "The show opens in 3 weeks. You'll figure it out." So I did.
Amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Okay, so now you have all of this under your belt and you're young. I mean, you're so young. And you said something a few seconds ago. I went to Juilliard. I was a classical singer, and still a lot of that comes out in my music when I so desire for it to come out. I'll
Mhm.
hit those notes
Yeah.
straight as a legit singer would do, and you would swear I was still a classical singer. But of course, I choose to do that. It just doesn't
Mhm.
happen like that. But I feel the same way. What a foundation. Because it's number one, it gives you the discipline.
Oh yeah.
The
Oh
discipline,
yeah.
which leads me to this next thing. All right, can you remember what your first professional show was?
Yes. So I was 12. This was my big break. I grew up in Orlando, Florida, and there's a theater there called the Orlando Repertory Theater. It's a wonderful theater, and I was just very lucky to grow up very nearby. And it was a production of It's a Wonderful Life. And
Mm.
I was one of the children. I think this kind of set the tone for me. So I got this job. I think truly I was good and I could memorize lines at 12 and I looked like the rest of the family. I think that's what got me the job, to be honest with you. But
Mm-hmm.
it got me in the door at this theater,
Yes.
right? And I think this is what's important about booking work is I got there because I had the talent, but really it's kind of luck, the first job you get at a place.
Yes.
It's being in the right place at the right time,
The right
looking like what
time.
they want you to look like. But I think that because I did a good job and because I was professional and because I was so eager and so excited about this job, it led to more and more and more opportunity.
Okay, stop right there. Time. Did y'all hear that? She said one word, one key word, because she was professional. Now, you were how old at this time? 12?
12, yeah.
Okay, how did you know that there are certain things that you have to do to even come off as a professional, to even be seen as a professional performer at that young age? Had someone spoken to you to say, now you have to do this, this, and this to make people respect you and to make people want to hire you? Or did you
Mhm.
just know that instinctively?
I think, to be honest, I'm going to bring this back to my parents. I think they are the kind of people who raised me just to be the best version of myself in every situation. And, when you're going into a brand new situation like that, it's very easy to be nervous and all these things. But I think my parents very much instilled it into me that, you want to be the person that other people want to be around, right?
Yes.
You want to be someone who's always there to help, who's always the first one to raise your hand. And you're not afraid to sound intelligent, that you're not afraid to, go up to somebody and introduce yourself. I definitely think my parents instilled that into me. But I also think that there are a lot of very talented, very seasoned adults in that show with me. And I think I was
Yes.
like a sponge, right? So I had never done this before. For the most part, it had just been, little musicals here and there. And I think I just spent a lot of time watching and listening
Okay,
to how
stop.
everyone around me was doing it.
Stop. See, Bella keeps saying things that I have said so many times, talking to directors, to casting directors, to agents, to managers, to other artists. And Bella's young, but she gets it. She got it then. Nothing hurts you to go out and see other performers, or either if you're in a show with other wonderful performers, look at them. Look at the things that make them great. And also look at the things when shit ain't working. What are
Yeah.
they doing when it's not working?
Yes.
You don't want to do that. You don't want that being a part of who you are as a performer. I mean, Bella, I could just kiss your parents. Because my parents were the same way, and it is so important. Now, Bella, you didn't get your equity card back then with that at 12, did you?
No.
Let's fast forward to when you got your equity card.
Mm. So I got that through points, actually, which I think is not as common. If people aren't familiar with it, there's a couple different ways you get your card, right? It's kind of confusing. And I feel like in school they didn't really explain this to me, but I did a lot of internships. They were acting jobs during college. And I got a lot of equity points for working at those equity theaters. And they had recently lowered the number to about 25. And before I knew it, it was my junior year. And there I was, you know what I mean, with all the
Okay,
points. And it was very exciting.
explain to people who are watching, especially young people who are watching, even some older ones who really don't know how points work. Explain to them briefly how points work. What does a point represent?
Okay, so a point, it depends on the theater that you're working at, right? Like what kind of, is it a Lord A, a Lord B
Mm-hmm.
theater, what kind of tier it is. And from there, what kind of role you're playing. So I was lucky enough, the first, I would say like the first like EMC points I earned was in a lead role, which was very exciting. At a theater in Maryland, I was doing $1 Million Quartet and I was playing Diane. So I earned a lot of points for doing that because I was a lead in the show.
Yes.
And from there, the next summer, I moved to Weston Playhouse, where I was a part of West Side Story and Anna Green Gables. And I had like a bit roles. I was Velma in West Side, and I was Josie and Anna Green Gables. So those earned me some more points as well. But it's like every show you do, depending on what role you're playing, it's different for each theater. But it can be tricky. Sometimes you have to do 4 contracts, maybe 5. For me, I just had to do 3. And
Yes.
then I had my points, which I was very
That's
happy
because you
about.
had key roles. You had
Yeah.
good roles, which led to that. When I came along, it was just easy. You got a show, and you were in. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, and
and
it
they
is still that way. It is still that way, but I would say for my age range coming out of college, they're a lot less likely to want to pay your dues, to want to bring you in. So I find it's a little easier to do the gritty intern work in the beginning, make those connections, open those doors, and then, once you are an established performer, they welcome you back, right? And then
yeah.
you've got places to return to.
Okay, Bella, you got an audition coming up. What is your preparation? They've sent you sides. They sent you the songs. What then do you do?
Okay. The first thing I do is research the hell out of the show,
Oh
right?
Lord.
Do I know the show, right? Do I know it? If I don't, I've got a lot to do, right? I'm going to be trying to find bootlegs. I might go to the Lincoln Center Performing Arts Library, where you can almost always watch any show that's archived. I don't know if New Yorkers know about that, but all you need is a library card. You can watch any show. I'll watch the show. And then I'll really start focusing on, then I'll kind of throw it away. I like to like find out about it and then kind of forget about their performances, right? I want it to be mine, not try to copy theirs. And then I'm really just diving into the text, like what is literally expected of me for this audition. I'm
Bella,
focusing on who
you
this
gonna
person
cause
is.
me to have to get up here and do a shout like I'm in church. How many times have I said that? You've got to deal with the text. Go ahead, Bella.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm diving into the text. I'm seeing, do I understand everything here? Am I understanding why this character is saying anything? If there's any question marks, if there's anything that I'm like, I'm not sure, then I'm going to figure that out right away, right? I'm going to figure out, oh, maybe I don't know what this word means, or I don't know why they say this line. I'm going to figure all that out, right? And then I'm really going to work on getting into my body. So for me, if it's just a song, I'm working on the lyrics first, right? The lyrics are the most important part. I'm probably going to treat it like a scene, right? I'm going to break it down. And then I'll probably call my voice teacher, be like, hey, let's got a new song, right? And then her and I will meet. She's my angel. And she's going to make sure that I am rhythmically correct on everything. She's going to make sure that I'm not missing any notes. We're going to go over my placement on everything. And then when I feel solid vocally and when I feel solid acting wise, I'm going to smush those two together, right? And then
Yes.
this should all and now it depends how much time you have too. Sometimes you get it the night before and you got to do all that in a couple hours, right? So if you've got a lot of time, then I'm going to get into my body for a couple days, right? I'm going to visit it an hour, maybe two a day, get it in my body, making sure that it's there no matter what. And then I'm set, right?
Here's the thing, Bella. A lot of times you'll get something, you don't have the time to do the research, and you may not be familiar with the show at all. So, what you have to do is you have to, based on the dialogue or the text in the music, the lyrics, you have to create a backstory. You cannot just think that you can bypass that step. You
Oh,
have
no.
to create a backstory because you don't know. You don't know the script. You haven't read anything. You don't know where this comes from. What happened before this particular scene? What's going on after this
Mm-hmm.
scene?
Yep.
So you have the lyrics there. You've got to text the dialogue. Create a backstory. And then what is the next step that you do? Make a choice or two
Yes.
and be convincing.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
in there like this is what it should be.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be that convinced, ladies and gentlemen, when you go into an audition, even though it may be opposite of what the director is looking for. But at least he knows that you were convincing in what you did do. Now, he may ask you to do something different. Now, what does
Mm-hmm.
that mean? You have to have the ability to change on a dime. Don't get that so fixated in you, in your body, that oh no, this is the way I rehearsed it and practiced it, and now I can't change. I'm gonna do it like this. Your ass is not gonna get hired here. You understand that?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
and I'm sure that's what you do because I'm sure not everything that you get, there's some original things that come your way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, it's a shot in the dark. You have no idea what they want.
Yeah, you don't.
Especially like, so voiceover is a great example of this. I recently got into animation voiceover, and it's truly a shot in the dark. You've never seen this show before. Sometimes you won't even get what the show is called. You'll get a couple sets of things, and they give you like, oh, this is a turtle from Mermaid Land, and you're the villain. Like that's all I give you. So
But
honestly,
you know
it's
what?
just about
You know what,
choices.
Bella? That's kind of good. I like that because then that's leaving it up to you for your creativity.
Yeah, I mean it's fun, and then if you don't get it, okay, they definitely weren't vibing with what I thought this was, and that's okay. I think I would much rather do it the way I would want to do it and get hired for
Yes.
that than try to fit myself into something that they have their eyes on that maybe I'm not going to do justice. Right. So I
Yes.
would rather be fully who I think this character is and then not get hired. Right. Like I would prefer that. Just making a very strong choice and obviously be flexible if they ask you for something different.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're going to like, who do I think this person is? I'm always going to kind of tie in with what my gut says. If that makes sense.
Yes. Follow that gut. And ultimately, I think, Bella, is that when you have done your homework and you have become one with the lyrics of that song and one with your dialogue, and you've made a choice or two, and this is the way you're going to do it. I always say this: auditions are about a type. They're looking for a certain type. Now, have they changed their mind on what they were looking for originally? Many
Yes.
times when someone has come into an audition and literally blew them away. But in the end, if you don't get it, and I'm talking to you people, you young people watching this, as long as you can leave an audition and say, I gave it my best, that was pretty damn good, then you got to wait till the next one comes along. You can't beat yourself up. Now, having said that, I'm older now. Did I beat myself up back in the day? Oh, hell yeah. I'd be up in the bed talking about, Lord, why didn't I hit that note a certain way? Oh, God, I should have done this scene this way. And you make it go round and round and round in your head. It's normal and it's natural.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, you don't have to do that, but trust me, I went through that. There's not a person who is in show business, older, who really can't, if they're to be honest, who can't say that they didn't go through that. We
100%.
all go through that. All right, Bella. Let's move on, girlfriend. Now you've got
All
the
right.
show. You've got the
Okay.
show. Okay. Now the first day of rehearsal, they've handed out the scripts and stuff. Now the director starts doing what he's doing if it starts off with the director. Now, if he has worked on a scene and maybe started maybe staging it a bit after the table read, I'm going maybe a weekend.
Yeah.
But mine starts the day of. When you go home, when rehearsal is over at 6, what do you do when you get home?
Oh, if it's not already written down, which it should be before you leave there, I'm gonna go over it and make sure I've written down absolutely everything that was set in stone. When you're in a big show that a lot of people are relying on you. So for example, the national tour I'm on, if I am one number off, almost all the lighting cues will not make sense. Right? If
Yep.
where I'm supposed to be standing, if I'm on 5 instead of 4, and let's say there's a very drastic spotlight, the lighting person's going to look insane, right? And that's my fault, not theirs, right? And that's a fireable offense, So it's like those things carry a lot of weight. So it's your job to stay on top of it, to really make sure you're doing your homework. And to be honest, my rule is I don't show up to rehearsal without being memorized ever. I know some people like to kind of wait, but I disagree with that. I think you should be memorized before rehearsals even start. Most nowadays, you get the script, that should be already in your body so that all you're focusing on is now what is the life of it? Now what am I doing with it? Right? You're not grasping for words and for lyrics, right?
And you know what, Bella? That leads to 90% of the time, if not 100% of the time, great performances. Because why? Now, yes, you can memorize all you want, and I do the same thing that you do, Bella. And the director might turn around and have a scene rewritten, but to get it under your belt as soon as you can leaves you the time that you can work on it. You can start honing it. You can start becoming one with that role. And by the time, baby, first preview comes,
Oh,
you are ready. You're not thinking about lyrics. You're not thinking about dialogues. You're only thinking about bringing that audience, and this as far as theater is concerned, into where you are in your mind's eye so that you're giving them layers. They're
yeah.
watching you, they're understanding what you are doing. But if you don't do the homework, you go home and you call it my time. This is my time. If you really are on top of your craft, it never becomes your time. I mean, I've I've worked on things and almost till when the show was about to close.
Yeah.
Always looking. I mean, this is what people who have a passion for this business. This is what they do. I mean, for you to be as young as you are, Bella, with these work ethics in play, it's just in place, I should say. It's really great because, honey, I know older people who have been in this business for a while, and I would just like to take one and beat the other. All right, now, Bella, have you ever had a problem? We don't call any names, no show names, where you had a problem with another cast member who just didn't have their crap together and you were so sick of them?
Absolutely. And I, again, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name
No.
theaters. I am going to say it's normally men, cough. But, okay, so this is a good example. I was doing a show, yeah, and this person was brand new to the theater. I'd worked at the theater for a while. A lot of us knew each other. It was definitely very like a family vibe. Everyone here was very supportive, very loving. It was just that way. And it's also on the flip side of things, though, it is a harder theater to get your foot in the door because they typically like to bring back people they already know. They're always friends, so it's that kind of a theater. So this guy came in as the lead of our show. And we were all very excited for him. He's brand new. None of us had ever met him before. I had seen his work online. He looked amazing, and we were doing a very fresh take on this show. So he was a person who I think normally wouldn't be cast in this role. And it was very exciting. We were all very excited to, do something new with the show. And he came in, and first off, he didn't make the first rehearsal because he missed his flight.
Ooh.
So when we're doing our first read through, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna FaceTime him in. He missed his flight." And we're like, "Oh, that's too bad." And when he joined the FaceTime, he was in bed in a muscle tank.
Bella, I'm gonna have to slap you. Lord, girl, wait a minute.
In bed.
He was doing FaceTime. He had missed the flight now, but now he's gonna join in FaceTime, and his ass is sitting up in bed. What? Anyway, go ahead, girl. Go ahead.
Oh my God! When I tell you, I and my castmate, we were like, "Are we seeing what we're seeing right now?" And I guess the director knew him, so the director acted like this was all fine, which it's not. I'm just gonna say it's not. And everyone else who works at the theater was kind of looking at themselves like, "Huh?" Okay, so we're getting to the read through portion of it, and we get to the part where he sings the first song, and he didn't know the song.
Ooh.
He didn't know it. He was kind of I would say marking it, maybe. I'm gonna give him that. I'm gonna give him that. And this show was a classic. We'll just say that. I don't even need to be doing research to find out what this was. But it's one that everyone should know, right? It's not. That's not a question. So that was bad. It was a bad first impression, right? So already I'm trying to keep an open mind about this person. I hadn't even met him yet. And all of this was bad. He pulled it together as the read-through went, and he was there the next day. And as things went, he got his act together a little bit. He was a very good performer, but once we were getting into Tech Week, he still didn't really know the lyrics, or he would flip things up sometimes. And our characters are supposed to sing along, so we'd all be singing one lyric and he'd be singing another. It was embarrassing, to be honest with you. And it got to the point where it was just out of control. And obviously I never said anything. That is not my place or any cast member's place to ever say anything. I will say that. But we were concerned for the show. Obviously we cared about it. We wanted it to be good.
The stage manager didn't address this because this is his or her job.
I'm sure they did, but I'm sure it was on a one-on-one basis.
Oh my God.
He definitely was of a level where nobody would call him out in front of the cast. I'm sure there were conversations. And eventually, the show happened. He did not get the best reviews, and he did not come back to that theater. That is what I will say. It
You
was
mean
very
they didn't
disappointing.
have him come back to the theater?
Oh no,
Hello. No, no, he
there's
didn't
no way.
not just not come back to the theater on his
Oh, he
own.
was not
They
invited
did
back.
not want him back.
Yeah, and I
Okay,
think
time
that's
out, time out. Hold
disappointing.
it there, Bella, for 1 minute. What Bella has just described can happen to you. Now, what does that mean? Someone hires you, they hired you over a lot of other people because they saw something in you. That means you have to come with the goods. You're on time, you come prepared, your script is clearly delineated, you take the notes, stage directions, you write everything down, you go home, have some dinner, then do your homework so that they can go forward from that where they left off the day before, the next day. And you're nice to your cast members. All of this has to come in play for them to invite you back. But when you don't do this, and you misbehave in every possible way that does not say professionalism, you're not going to get invited back. It's curious, Bella, because this director had to have known about this guy.
And that is what I wonder too. And it's never a conversation I had with this director. It was also my first time with this director. But I had a very positive experience with him. I think he knew how to helm the show. He kept the cast very together, but it very much felt like they probably were friends, or it was something, because to be honest with you, I'm shocked that he wasn't fired. I mean, if that was the first day, you would be fired in a professional sense. So for me, that tells me that he was a friend of the director, and that's what allowed that to happen. And unfortunately, I mean, that is also a yucky part of the business is, people will excuse some things. Like, you will see some bad behavior that sometimes is not responded to because of that person's connection or because of that. But I don't think that it gives you a free pass to do those things. 100%
No.
do not do that. But I think it's good to also know that there are some things in this industry that are not fair. That sometimes are like yucky, that don't make sense, right? That is definitely a dark part of this industry, and it's
that's terrible because I always say, you could be my mother. But if you don't fit the bill, honey, I'm not hiring you. Sorry, darling. I love you, but you have to fit the bill. I mean, that is utterly ridiculous because ultimately it hurts the show. It hurts the show. Now, one more thing. What is the most embarrassing thing that happened to you on stage? Anything?
Okay. All right. So in college, your kids are gonna love this. All right. Oh boy. I was doing one of those like mass audition things. Oh God. I think it was Unifieds or something like that. I'm talking about, where you go and there's a lot of theaters there, and you basically have 16 bars. And that's it. And you just like walk onto a stage, they say your name, you do your 16 bars, and then you wait. It's horrible. You wait for like 2 hours to see if you got any callbacks. Okay, so I was at one of these things. And I was doing a song that I do all the time. I was doing It Might As Well Be Spring from State Fair. It's a relatively easy song. This was a very early audition, so I was like, this will be fine. 16 bars, shows my type. It's great. I had nervously chugged a lot of coffee that morning. So I want to say it was very early to be singing. And the last note is this very high, very sustained, and it's supposed to be my like impressive moment, right? This is the moment in the song where I'm supposed to be like, hire me, right? So I get to this ending note, and I'm holding it out, and I burp. So
wait a minute. Did you? Okay, you had already hit the note, and then the burp
I was
came.
at the note.
And it came before.
And then I slid back into it.
Oh, Bella.
And when I tell you, and I went back at the note, and then I stopped and go, thank you. And I left. And when I tell you, I thought my life is over. I am going to be blacklisted for the rest of my life. And obviously there was a lot of laughter in the audience. And I went to that casting board where all the callbacks and everything would be. And I was like, wow, this is going to be horrifying. I'm going to get a big old nothing. I had a couple of theaters actually give me a call back. And when I went in, they said, wow, when they say make a choice, we didn't mean that, but you were memorable. So
Oh, that is I mean, the worst thing that happened, there have been a couple things, but this one thing in particular, I was known. I mean, I never forgot anything. The staging. I always had a good memory. I always learned fast. I was a fast learner. All right, this is on Broadway, and I just didn't make mistakes, and I just didn't do crazy stuff. So it was God Bless the Child. I was coming out of the bridge. They don't, oh, they don't come no more. A glob of saliva got came up. I was strained and I couldn't come out of it. It was horrible. So of course the song is playing on and I know where it is, and then finally, basically, I'm now at the end because this was coming out of the bridge. So now it's time to go into the ending. So I was to the end. I was ready to go there, but it took me several measures while this thing it was so horrible, Bella. I mean horrible. But you know what? Things happen. Things happen. I mean, it's a part of our anatomy. Things are going to happen. You forget lyrics. But the thing is, you just go on and you do, especially if it happens in a show when you're in front of an audience. I mean, these things happen. You forget lyrics. You do this, you do that. But back to this cast always thinking, Vivian never messes up. Girl, when I got into the wings after the song was over, they were all standing there like this. Have you encountered a lot of jealousy because of the successes that you've had, like by other members of whatever show cast you're in?
I would say normally it doesn't come from the shows I'm a part of. I would say normally the people I'm surrounded with are, in my experience, for the most part, have been kind and supportive and wonderful. To
Good.
be honest with you, the majority of the problems I have found have been more in class environments.
Really?
Or in any kind of environment where it's like a workshop or something like that. That's where I've come into some struggle there. I think it's hard. I think we're in an industry that is constantly comparing you to the person next to you, constantly telling you, oh, you're replaceable. Oh, if you were 5 pounds lighter. Oh, if all these things. And to be honest with you, I've obviously fallen for that trap too. I mean, I think we all do at one point. We're like, oh man, if I, had that one thing that she does, I would have gotten that role. And not, we can play that game forever. But I think when I learned that, like, I'm successful because of what I have to offer to the table, right?
Yes.
It's not because I was someone else or I looked like someone, or, those people are going to be successful because of what they have to offer. They've done those shows because they had that spark that show needed. You know what I mean? So for me, when I'm not getting a role, or when it's something that I really thought I was going to get, I have to remind myself, like, it's for a good reason. Like, I want to get the jobs that are going to be absolutely best for me, or if there was someone who was more talented or maybe brought something creatively that I didn't bring, I want that for that show. I want that show to succeed, right? To the best of its ability. And even if that's not me, and I think that's a hard lesson to learn.
Well,
But
can
I
you
think,
do you pick up on jealousy when it's coming from other people toward you? Like
yes,
they're
and it's hard, and I think for the most part, the way that I like to think about it is that person is deeply insecure. That person is having a hard time or is probably being really harsh on themselves. So normally when someone starts acting like that, to me, I try to find and, like, compliment them on things that I think that they're doing really well, or go out of my way to show them kindness, to try to, like, break through that, because for the most part what I found is it's deep insecurity that's fueling that. It
yes.
has nothing to do with me, right? They're having a really hard time in this industry, and to be honest with you, this industry is not for everybody Absolutely not. And if you are somebody who is predisposed to deep insecurity, deep things like that, and the constantly needing to be the one picked, then I don't know, maybe you need to try something else for a little while or work on it, because it's never going to get easier, right? Like
Yeah.
even being on Broadway, you're constantly being put up for rejection, so I think having a really strong sense of self is so important.
Yeah, and there are probably more no's in this business than there are yeses, and you have to be ready for that. I think if you prepare yourself, you take your classes, you do your workshops, and you try to become as great as you possibly can, because ultimately you want to be known as a great performer, someone who delivers when they go on the stage, someone who has the audience riveted in their seats. This is what you want to work toward. Having Being jealous of someone else because maybe they got write-ups and you didn't, or or they're just doing it on stage, the audience loves them. Being jealous is not going to help you. It is simply not going to help you, and it's going to make you miserable. Now, it's funny that you say you handle it that way with me, and I went through a lot of it. I used to cry a lot, Bella. It was terrible because I couldn't understand how I could hang with these people during the rehearsal period, but then once the show opens and the reviews came out, and then the reviews were all about me, and then all of a sudden these people weren't talking to me. God gave me this gift, and screw you. I'm gonna do what I have to do. You are not gonna take my joy. You are
Yeah.
not gonna make me cry. Whatever you're going through is on you. And I had to tell myself. So I'm
Yep.
glad to know at your age that you're handling that kind of thing in the way that you are,
It's
because
definitely
I
still hard.
it's
I
hard,
definitely
honey.
don't want it to seem like, oh, I'm fine. It definitely still
It
really affects you,
hurts.
but
It
it hurts.
hurts.
But, I think like keeping focused on separating it from you, that,
Yes.
reminding yourself that even though it may sound like what you're saying to me is about me, it's actually about them. Right. Someone said this to me that normally what people complain about or point out, they think that they do themselves. Right. I don't think that's always true, but I think it's interesting to point out about people who are bullying or saying mean things. They're trying to express their own pain with themselves, right? So I think, like I said, have a strong sense of self, know your worth, know what you have to bring to the table, and if somebody is not interested in that, you can simply just sometimes you can't go away from them if you're in a show, but you don't have to hang out with that person, right? You don't have to spend your time thinking or talking to that person. You can just step away. It doesn't need to be confrontation, doesn't need to be anything like that. It can just be as simple as, I'm just going to back up from this a little bit, give myself a little bubble, a little space, and surround yourself with the people in your life who do fill you up, who do fill you with joy, right? And
And
I think that's what's important.
and also, if you're in a show and someone is trying to get under your skin, and I'm talking to the people watching, they're trying to get under your skin, whatever, to mess up your performance, to do whatever, you have the right to go to the stage manager and formalize a complaint.
Yeah.
You have that right. I wouldn't confront the actor. Don't do that.
No.
You go to the stage management, let them deal with it. That is part of their job. Bella, this has
This has
been
been
so great. Do you have any parting words?
bring your joy to your work. Remember why you decided to do this in the first place. I think sometimes that gets lost, right? I think remember like how much joy this brings you and how much you like to do it. A teacher told this to me, and they said, treat the audition as the performance, and if you get it, treat that as the encore, right?
Oh,
So I think that's how I've been looking at it, and it really helps.
I wish you all the best. You gave everyone watching this some good advice, and to possess all of this at such a young age, I applaud you, because nothing says that you have to wait till you get older to be professional. No. From day one, you must be, for people to want to work with you. Always remember that. Big hand for you, baby. Thank you so
Thank
much, Bella Moore.
you.
Yes. And to those of you who have watched this video, thank you so much. And keep watching. Now, don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to like. And I'll see you the next time. Wave, Bella. Bye.
Bye.